I know I'm walking on thin ice when I say this, but I have to. Dil Bechara is not a good movie. I really wish it were. I really wished that it would be a perfect emotional tribute to Sushant Singh Rajput. But it's neither perfect, nor emotional, nor a tribute to his legacy. It's just another romantic Bollywood film. Don't get me wrong, I, like everyone else, was most certainly emotional and found it extremely difficult to watch this film because of the weight of the tragedy behind this film. But it's very important to understand that I didn't feel emotional because of the story. I felt emotional because of the real-life tragedy behind this. I am in no way trying to insult any of the actors or the makers of this film, but I'm merely pointing out why I felt so lost during the film. Let's dive in to
Dil Bechara.
Everything good about this film resides in its first 25 minutes only. Sushant Singh Rajput's charm, Sanjana Sanghi's acting, their budding romance, everything. Only for the first 25 minutes. And from then on, it begins its journey downhill into an incoherent series of events that doesn't really make sense as to why it's happening. I honestly think a major part of the screenplay has just been picked up from the original. And to be honest, a perfect replica of the original screenplay would have actually worked better. The original screenplay delved deeper into the emotional journey of the characters and lingered on the moments that required lingering. Most of those emotional moments have been severed off in the Dil Bechara screenplay adapted by Shashank Khaitan and Supratim Sen Gupta. It seems to be jumping from one scene to another with no sense of pacing, but rather moving forward just to get done with the film. This is very hard to explain because every emotional scene that's there in the original is also present in Dil Bechara. But for some reason, it just doesn't work. Take for example this scene. The goal of this scene in both the original and the remake are the same.
I felt an ache in my hip.
An ache?
To tell the audience and the other character about the cancer. But both these films take a completely different approach. In The Fault in Our Stars, the scene begins with Gus being unusually quiet as opposed to his usually erratic self. Then he goes to reveal information about his cancer. In Dil Bechara, the scene starts off with Kizzy professing her love for Manny and then reveals information about Manny's cancer. The difference is, Dil Bechara makes this scene superficial by making it about love, while The Fault in Our Stars retains its original message of mortality. We feel bad not because their romance might come to an end, but we feel bad because Gus, who's such a happy soul, is going to die, probably before Hazel. The scene in the original is about cancer and the unfairness of life. Love is secondary. It's peripheral to the main message. While in Dil Bechara, love and its incompleteness is the main message and cancer is secondary. In fact, this is the difference between both films almost on a thematic level. While The Fault in Our Stars deals with cancer, mortality and the pain of losing a loved one, Dil Bechara is merely a love story of two ailing patients. The second thing that's wrong with Dil Bechara is its pacing. No scene is allowed to blossom to its full emotional potential. The scenes are either cut off or they're just shortened. This same cancer scene in Dil Bechara is 1 minute and 42 seconds long, while in the original it lasts for 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Now practically speaking, that isn't a huge difference in time, but for a single scene, it's a massive difference. In the original, the performance of each character is more subtle as they take their time going through the scene. But in Dil Bechara, the scene goes cut, 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 and done. The progression of the expressions doesn't feel natural. Going from extremely happy to teary-eyed in 30 seconds feels very unnatural. The audience literally isn't given time to formulate their own emotions. They aren't given time to feel for the characters. Rather, the emotions are thrust onto our faces along with a sad background music to accompany it. And this problem I credit to both the screenplay and the editing. It's not just the expressions that change instantly. It's also characters. The mother's character is the one that caught me off guard. Throughout the first half, she is an unsupportive of their romance kind of mother. But the second they land in Paris, she becomes supportive of everything all of a sudden. This change in character is neither explained nor called for in the film. Speaking of Paris, we have a weird cameo from Saif Ali Khan as Abhimanyu Veer, the nasty songwriter. In the original, the nasty songwriter is actually a nasty book writer. In it, he calls Hazel and Gus a failed experiment in mutation and a side effect because of their cancer. He accuses them of being hungry for pity because of their state. What comes out of that scene? Hazel tries to overachieve. She tries to climb all the stairs even though she knows it's very difficult for her, because she doesn't want people to pity her. In Dil Bechara, again, the train takes a turn into romance station. The overall theme of the entire scene, again, is togetherness and incomplete love. He implies to Kizzy and Manny that it is impossible to smile and live after the death of a loved one. What comes out of this scene? A song that talks about living life to the fullest. But to be honest, Saif Ali Khan's cameo feels very out of place and illogical. His appearance in the film doesn't really change the story in any way. And that's the same case for JP. His character doesn't really have anything to do throughout the film. The movie that JP makes seems nothing more than a gimmick and has no further meaning in the film itself. Apart from the eulogy scene, he has no major reason to be there in the film. And yet, this film seems to be a top-rated film. I understand that people were emotionally motivated while watching this film. Heck, even I was. But I'm sorry. I just cannot appreciate bad art. This film seems to be a remake on the surface, but actually are two different films. While one talks about cancer and the pain it brings along with it, the other is just another Bollywood romance film. I feel bad knowing that this was Sushant's last film. If we all are, as we claim to be, Sushant Singh Rajput fans, we wouldn't be appreciating his average films, but rather his good films. Sushant Singh Rajput's Sonchirya is an exemplary film on good filmmaking. It not only shows us his versatility as an actor, but also gives us a wonderful story. If you haven't watched it yet, I urge you to please watch it and appreciate it. I wasn't his biggest fan, but I appreciated his work. He was truly a talented actor, and his loss is one that we all felt. I hope he finds peace wherever he is. God bless.